Hi, guys. This is Evangelist Raquel Davis coming back to you this week. I hope you had a really good week, and I am back again with another message with words of wisdom. You know, it doesn't take a lot to get the message that you need, And so these messages are not very long, but they are definitely straight to the point, and I hope they've been a blessing to you so that you can apply them to your life. Well, let's get started. Tonight's message is titled God Speaks First. God speaks first. And it's going to be taken from Genesis chapter 2, verse 16. And I will explain a little bit. Sometimes we get a thought or our first thought, right? And we know that's what we should do. And sometimes a second thought will come in and just knock the first thought out. But this message is going to explain to you exactly what I mean by that. So I'm going to go to Genesis chapter 2, verses 16. It says, and this is, let me set it up for you. This is the Garden of Eden where Adam and Eve was, and the enemy came in to trick Eve. But I'm going to share exactly what I mean. All right, verse 16, chapter 2. And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, You may surely eat of every tree of the garden, but the tree of knowledge of good and evil you may not eat. For in that day that you eat of it, you shall surely die. Well, let's skip down to chapter 26. But what I just talked about, this very first verse here, the Lord had spoke first. God told him exactly what what he is required to do and what he should do. So let's go down here to verse 24. I'm sorry, I'm going to go to verse 23. Then the man said, this is the last, is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. And this is where the Lord had brought forth Adam's wife. And the man and his wife were both naked, and they were not ashamed. Now I'm going to skip over to chapter 3. So here we have read first, let me piggyback. We have read first where God had commanded Adam, telling him what to eat, what tree to eat from the garden. Okay, and then we see here where he said that it wasn't good for him to be alone, and he made him a wife. Well, over here in chapter 3, this is where the second voice came in. Now the serpent was more crafty than any of the beasts in the field. Genesis chapter 3, verse 1. And the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, Did God actually say? Trying to trip her up and make her think she wasn't hearing, or the instructions that was given was not exactly what God meant. God means what he says, and he says what he means. Did God really say you shall not eat of any tree of the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees in the garden, but God said, You shall not eat of the fruit of the tree that is in the midst of the garden, neither shall you touch it, lest you shall die. But the serpent said to the woman, You will not surely die. For God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be open, and you will know good. You will be like God in knowledge of good and evil. So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was a delight to her eyes, and that the tree was to be desired to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate it. I'm going to stop right there. The voice that came to her came first of all. God gave instructions first. Back in chapter 2, verse 16. God had specifically told Adam exactly what to eat and what not to eat. He told him which tree to eat from and which tree not to eat from. So he knew exactly what to do. And he shared that with his wife, because if you see over here, she said to him, But God said. So she knew exactly what she was instructed to do. But then the second voice came and said, which was the enemy, Did God really say? Yes, God really said it. God means what he says, and he said what he meant. So this is where, how can we bring this to today? Sometimes we get thoughts in our mind and we know what we should do the first time around. You know how you get that first thought, or you ever said, I should have stuck with my first thought? The first, God speaks first. Any other voice after that is not his. It could be yours, it could be the enemy, it could be others. But God spoke to you first. And what you heard or what you believe was in your heart first, that's what you stick to. Anything after that is not him. God knew exactly what to tell you. He knew that you were pondering the situation. He knew that you didn't have the answers. And God gave you the answers when he spoke it to your heart. So what I'm saying to you is this. When you know something or you need to make a decision, the very first thought that comes to your heart or to your mind, you stick to that. You stick to it. Because any thought after that could be the enemy, yours, or someone else's opinion. So I just want you to know today, God speaks first, and you had the answer the first time around. Don't let anything deceive you or make you think it's not what God said to you. Be blessed, and remember, God speaks first. God bless you, and see you next time.